Hello, Darren Flynn here with another episode of the ClubLIFE podcast. Thanks for joining us. Well, when you think of Cessnock, you're likely to think of one of three things: the gateway to the Hunter Valley wine region, coal mining, or rugby league's Johns Brothers. But increasingly, you can add Cessnock Leagues Club to that list. The venue's currently in the midst of a major redevelopment, which will double its capacity and cement its position as an iconic destination in town. Now, the man overseeing it all is their CEO, Paul Cousins, and Paul joins me now. G'day, Paul.
Darren, how are you?
I'm well, thanks. You're about halfway through the redevelopment. Tell us how it's all tracking you. Is still on track for a mid-year opening?
Yeah, June's the target at the moment, but time will tell on that one, as with all building projects. But yeah, it's a long time in the making. Like, you know, anything of scale, there's a lot of planning, a lot of research gone in behind this project. And I'm really excited. It sort of transforms our club from a medium-sized regional club to something of a little bit more significant.
Take us through what the new club will look like.
We're effectively building or doubling the size of the club right next door. So we're fortunate enough to buy lots of land adjoining the club over the past sort of 10 to 15 years. And over that time, we've never really been sure how we're going to utilise those land parcels, but we did some initial research around how the city's growing and what their future needs will be over the next sort of 10 to 20 years. And with that information, we went to a couple of architects and got some sort of design concepts done up and fell in love with one done by Altus.
It will ultimately become the biggest venue, obviously, in Cessnock. You probably are already, but it's really going to stand out, this new club. You mentioned this was a long time in the making. It did go back a number of years. Tell us about the early thoughts for a redevelopment, which were at least put on hold by COVID.
Yeah, we were looking at other options around social entertainment like cinemas and bowling alleys and on a modest scale, not to what you see at your Westfields and the like. And they're sort of like social infrastructure that the city doesn't have. It's a growing city, and our market research, identified that over the next 20 years it was growing by 50%. And it's a really strong growth corridor in the Lower Hunter with Maitland and Cessnock, and housing affordability, lifestyle quality is high as well, and locations to, Newcastle Airport, Newcastle City itself, and we're just 2 hours from Sydney. So I guess COVID is a reset for a lot of people, and we dust ourselves off from that and sort of realise that we need to grow with our city and maybe focus on what we're good at, which is obviously food and beverage and obviously around events and gaming as also.
You mentioned your research process. Did you look at any other club developments when you were sort of formulating plans?
I think when you see other clubs, particularly in the Sydney metro area, you sort of get inspired by ideas, and I've been fortunate enough to be on some study tours to different jurisdictions, including Vegas primarily, so you sort of get inspired by certain ideas and certain services and facilities that can complement what you already do. The thing about our project is we're delivering something special for our members and for our area and our communities. I think that's the main thing. It's going to be a bigger venue, we're going to have more staff, but the exciting part for me is that people in our area are going to have a really modern, up-to-date hospitality venue that they can use on a regular basis.
It's a huge milestone for a club that's relatively young, only 45 years old. Tell us about the history of Cessnock Leagues Club.
It's got a really good history. The Cessnock Goannas competing in the Newcastle League. Cessnock is a rugby league town through and through. There was a lot of people involved with the football club in the early 70s, and they were becoming anxious about other clubs within the competition having leagues clubs and having a little bit more financial security around the football operations. And that was a catalyst for a handful of football club members to sort of start working towards a licensed club. So they started that in the early 70s, and by 1980 they secured some land opposite the football ground on an old sawmill. Were able to get a liquor licence eventually and a gaming machine licence, and so I opened up in 1980, so it's a pretty young club.
And you're from another town in the Hunter where rugby league is equally popular, Maitland.
Yeah.
Tell us about growing up in Maitland. You still live there today or on the outskirts of Maitland. Tell us about growing up in Maitland.
Maitland was like every other country town. We had a little bit more than others, but it was great, really good. Before screens and everything, so you're out in the backyard playing cricket or rugby league, depending on the seasons. And it's a rugby league town as well. It had been quite conflicted. My father, he played a lot of years at Maitland Pickers, and for his son to go out and work for, help out the Cessnock Goannas made him a little bit uneasy at different times, particularly if they met in grand finals, which they have done over the years.
Well, based on recent performances, I don't think the Pumpkin Pickers have got too much to worry about. They've been the premier club, obviously, along with Cessnock in recent years as well. Now, you actually started your club career in Maitland as well, at the Maitland City Bowling Club. There was a family link there, I understand. Tell us about that.
Yeah, both my grandparents were heavily involved. My grandfathers, one was on the board, one was a regular bowler. Dad was around, he didn't really play bowls, but like for everybody, it was a social hub. So I remember as a kid, if we went out for dinner somewhere special, it'd be at the Chinese restaurant at the bowling club. So they were sort of standout moments. And just over time, I guess with the club being familiar, I was playing junior cricket, and I had a mate that would run off from junior cricket to bowls pennants on a Saturday, and I got a bit curious about it and ended up sort of looking up and taking up the sport eventually.
And you are a passionate lawn bowler yourself. I understand even today, although you might be taking a bit of a back seat at the moment, but still very interested in the sport of lawn bowls.
Yeah, I've played since I was 16, so I played a long time. I sort of stopped when I switched and moved jobs out to Cessnock, and I'm in a little break now as well. But yeah, it's a really good sport, a lot of good people in there, and it's I guess a really good pastime. The only negative is it takes up a bit of time, so you've got to prioritise it. It's not like turning a tap off when you can just do a little bit. You sort of play at a particular level. I like to play pretty regularly.
And like Cessnock Leagues Club, Maitland City, an iconic destination in that town, and obviously a lot of history around both the Bowls Club and the Leagues Club that are amalgamated with in recent years.
Yes.
Tell us about your time there, because you rose to the rank of a CEO and you were there for quite a bit of time. Tell us about those early days in your career.
Yeah, I think like everybody, I started casual bar work and things like that, and then I was only there maybe 3 to 6 months, and I was offered a trainee managership. So we did that, and that was quite good. We covered every aspect of the business, working in the cellar. I was doing security at one stage, which would be a bit of a laugh for anyone that knows me well. You know, you just went through every element of the club. And I was playing bowls at that stage, so quite regularly I'd be there every day for weeks on end, either playing or working at the club. And it was exciting, it was enjoyable, and I was working towards being an architect, but then this club work started getting a bit serious. I started really enjoying the diversity of the work and working with people. And I think there are a lot of opportunities at Maitland City as well. There was sort of some high turnover of management there, particularly CEOs and second in charge sort of managers. There were sort of progressive or progression or promotional opportunities around the venue. So I was fortunate enough to sort of get some early starts in some promotions there.
You mentioned you were thinking about a career in architecture. I don't think I've spoken to a single club CEO who said from a very young age, I wanted to be a club CEO.
No.
Do you think we do enough to sell the merits of club employment? Because it really is a great career path, and the number of people who spend a large chunk of their career, if not their entire career, in the industry is quite impressive.
It's a great career, and it's a stable career. It does feel... I guess it feels a little bit of a closed shop, but I think if people enjoy working with people in that customer service space and they have got sort of business acumen, it'd definitely be worthwhile looking at. I guess historically in the time I've been in it, in the 90s and early 2000s, every accountant, most senior managers had a finance background, but now there's more and more managers with operational or even catering backgrounds getting into senior management. And it's really just managing numbers and people, and of course these days governance and compliance. It's been an exciting career. I won't be moving out of it in a hurry, as I think it's the best job ever. I've got a good group of mates, and they're all scoff a little bit at some of the things I have to do and attend over the course of each year or over the years. It's a really enjoyable career, very rewarding, and the responsibility is not lost on me. So we're in charge of major community assets, and some bad decisions and some selfish decisions can jeopardise that. So it's a really important role we play.
Can you ever switch off as a club CEO? I mean, the club obviously trades 7 days a week and long hours. Can you ever switch off, or have you always got work in the back of your mind? Even on a Saturday night at 9 o'clock, you might get a call from a duty manager.
I'm only as good as my team, and I've got a fantastic team at Cessnock at the moment, and that's taken a while to build. I think for club managers in small clubs, I think the answer is no, you can't. It's a 7-day-a-week sort of, hands-on or even mentally engaged in the business. But I'm quite fortunate. I'm able to, have a weekend, and I've got really capable staff running the venue and making decisions that are consistent with our values. But also, I can take holidays and not have to be on the phone or emails to keep in touch with it. But I'm very fortunate in that regard. It hasn't always been that way, but I'll be honest, I've never, on a Sunday night, I'd never sort of sat there and go, oh God, I've got to do a week's worth of work. So sometimes I sit there and say, I can't wait to go back to work tomorrow. So I have great weekends, but, I really don't see work as work. I really enjoy it. And I like building towards something. We're doing a project at the moment and delivering new services and facilities over the coming months, but you're constantly working towards what's next and improving either your team, the business, or your facilities.
Before we move on from Maitland, some of your key highlights or milestones from your period there?
I think learning, I was thrown in the deep end. I was quite a young manager. I think I was about 26, 27 as CEO there, which was a little bit early. I made a few blunders in my early days, but the opportunities there and the support that I had from the board was certainly appreciated. They're a very involved board, so that was good, I guess, foundation for me working with boards as I've gone through my career. I've only worked at 2 clubs, so I'm a little bit limited there in terms of variety, but it's a growing suburb, the western suburbs of Maitland, and it's a thriving club at the moment. So it's been really rewarding to sort of work there for, in total, about 14 years, and my successor, Ian Martin, he's been working there for 16 years now, and it's good to have that continuity in the management team there at the club now, and it's going really well.
Fast forward to about 2010 and you make the decision to head across to Cessnock Leagues.
Yep.
What lured you across?
I guess catalyst, I did start, maybe got the opportunity at Maitland City, maybe earlier than most expected, maybe before I was ready, and maybe I'd still be working there now. I'd be considered the boy still, so although most of the board members have sort of retired off the board now. I felt also too that, I want to make a career in club management. I don't want to be in one venue over that time, and my intention for applying at some club, I've applied for other jobs, but Cessnock offered me the opportunity. And I guess it was having a bit of a rough trot, and it was an opportunity to be able to maybe use my skills and be able to sort of build something at Cessnock, which we've been fortunate enough to do.
In a very unique town right at the gateway of the Hunter Valley, which opens up a lot of opportunities to capitalise on the tourist trade.
Yep.
The club was onto that very early because you opened a hotel early in your tenure or before your tenure?
Before my tenure. So 2006, they opened up a 50-room motel, the Wine Country Motor Inn. So it trades well. It's a tough market. It's really competitive. A lot of accommodation spaces out there. We're based in Cessnock, which is 5 minutes from the start of the winery. So it's a good element to our business. It's beyond your traditional club offer, and it's been in our business for a long time now, and it's been good working in that space. And there's obviously benefits, in terms of foot traffic through the club as well, being right next door.
Your business card would read CEO, Cessnock Hospitality Group these days, because you are an amalgamated group. Let's talk about the Paxton Bowling Club, because this club joined the Cessnock Leagues Club family in about 2016.
Yeah, about 10 years ago.
What was the reason for bringing Paxton Bowling Club into the group?
There's 3 small townships about 10 minutes out of town of Cessnock, and they've got Ellalong, Paxton and Millfield. They've roughly got around about 600-700 population in each of those townships. And they've had a couple of clubs over the years, and Paxton was the last one. It had been struggling financially, and they eventually reached out and asked whether it'd be interested in an amalgamation, which we had a look at. They had low debt. They also had low profitability, small losses, a building that needed maintenance, a grass green that needed regular maintenance and things like that. With the board at the time, we looked at it. We sort of looked at the numbers, and we looked at the broader community aspect of it and losing that club and what it would mean. And we felt that fixing up a few things and running some lean management there would be able to keep the club running. And 10 years later, it's taken a little while. The first few years was challenging, and we've had some bumps in the road, but we're certainly now at a point where it's financially sustainable, and we've got some opportunity there to do stuff in and around the club. So I guess that was to keep the club alive in a small township. So we're really, really happy about that.
And speaking of keeping clubs alive, of course, the Cessnock Ex-Services Club, it's a bit of a sad tale really in the end, but if circumstances were different in terms of timings and decisions from the board of the old Ex-Services Club, things would have been different. But of course, Vincent Street Kitchen and Bar was a pretty impressive venue in terms of food and beverage offer. But unfortunately, you've had to make the difficult decision in recent times to close that venue, essentially absorb what you were doing there into the main club. Tell us about that decision and why you really didn't have any other choice other than to close Vincent Street.
Yeah, it's been a steep learning curve, the Vincent Street Kitchen and Bar. We opened that after amalgamation. The venue had closed for over 12 months, and then we reopened it as a different food and beverage offer to your traditional club. What I did underestimate was that break in the continuity of trade made a huge difference to the business. So we effectively opened a brand new business. So we didn't have that regular clientele that would just sort of start from day one. We had to rebuild that from scratch, and it took a bit of time. So we opened in December 18. We had a good 12 months, 15 months worth of trading, and then ran into a couple of lockdowns back to back. And I guess it halted a little bit of momentum. Whether it changed the course of history, I doubt it. We got some great outcomes from the venue. The food reputation was terrific. We're really quite proud of the food offer from the restaurant there. And I guess, in a regional market, being able to sell a volume of beverages around cocktails and that sort of, more sort of higher end type hospitality experience was a major benefit. But we didn't own the building. There were sort of restrictions around that. It wasn't necessarily purpose-built for a club. Even though it was previous a club, we didn't have the full footprint as what the previous club was. And I think, to be honest, we'd still be trading it today if we weren't doing major works at the Leagues Club. And the fact that we were looking at that, it sort of seemed to be, okay, if we're going to invest heavily at the Leagues Club, there might be an opportunity to be able to maybe resolve an ongoing venue issue with Vincent Street. So the name will be gone. We've kept the team, the guys in the kitchen, and most of our service staff have remained and will remain through, and look forward to opening a new version in the new building.
And it really was the fact that you didn't own the building. That was from day one, from the time that the old ex-services club went into liquidation, the building was sold, the building was essentially reformatted. There were other businesses operating in the footprint, which made it very difficult, obviously, to do what you needed to do in a profitable way. But nevertheless, the redevelopment, obviously absorbing all the staff from Vincent Street, is a great story to tell. Now, we're going to talk briefly about your role on the boards of industry associations, because you've actually been on the board of Bowls New South Wales.
Yes.
And more recently, and currently till today, you're still on the board of Leagues Clubs Australia. Why has it been important for you to serve in those capacities?
From the bowls side of things, I guess I've played bowls for a lot of years, and I also had the business side from the club industry sort of aspect to the perspective, I guess, to offer the board at the time. So I enjoyed that time. It was really interesting. It was during COVID lockdowns, and it was actually at a point where that was back when they weren't unified. There was a men's and ladies boards, and over that time there were negotiations started, and we're able to successfully merge those two entities, which is when I stepped off the board there. So that was, I guess, a big win for the association. It certainly provided a unified front for bowls in New South Wales, and hopefully I see the association going well under Tim, and it's good that it has been strong, and I enjoyed my time there. So that was one element. The Leagues Clubs Australia board role is that I like to provide the perspective of a regional club. Although we're not small, I like to think that I'm acutely aware of what challenges small clubs face, and also regional clubs are very different club business in regions. You've really got to know people, and it's all about personalities and conversations and relationships as compared to metropolitan clubs. I'm sure there's a lot of relationships being built around Sydney clubs, but just the scale of everything is sort of mind-blowing. And I like to give back to a great industry. At the end of the day, I'd like to, if I can contribute in some way, I don't feel like I have a heap to contribute, but I feel like I've got a reasonable balanced view on most things, and I'd like to be able to speak up and provide some suggestions or at least some feedback around issues.
The nexus between licensed clubs and rugby league has been incredibly strong since the 1950s, and probably more than any other factor, it's responsible for the growth of the game, particularly between the 50s and the 1980s. Yeah. And it's still strong today. A lot of licensed clubs' sole purpose really is to fund the operations of the football team. Yeah. Not the case with Cessnock. Tell us about the relationship between the Goannas and the Leagues Club. There is a financial component, but perhaps not as strong as some other clubs in the industry.
I guess our purpose, our profit purpose is to promote not just rugby league, but sporting pursuits in the Cessnock area and support the Cessnock community. Cessnock Goannas is a really important element to that, as well as the minor league club as well. They've got like 700 juniors, and it's a really well followed sport in our region. We are at arm's length. There's a very separate committee from the football to the board. It's at arm's length. We're more or less considered a sponsor, but the relationship's much closer than that. I think in my 16 years at the club, we haven't had, I think there's been one conversation about how the football team's going or what player they signed, and we sort of nipped that in the bud pretty quickly. We're about business and supporting the wider community, and the Goannas is really important to that because the Goannas is important to the Cessnock community, and it's a great social outlet for people to either play for the Goannas or to help, volunteer, participate or even support. It's a great networking connection point for people in our area.
As you mentioned, you're there to support the broader community and sport across the board. Tell us about some of the organisations that benefit from the support of Cessnock Hospitality Group.
We do a whole range. So we do a lot with school, a lot of local, we're sort of bushfire prone in our area. So we do a lot with the local rural fire brigades up around our area. Each year they can apply for up to $2,000 and there's just miscellaneous equipment that they're able to get and stock themselves up and have them in readiness for bushfire seasons as they roll around. As I mentioned, we do a lot with local schools, but also do a heap with like Cessnock Netball. That's a new one. We've just started some stuff up with Cessnock basketball as well. And sport is really, really crucial for the social fabric of Cessnock. Costs to participate in sport can be expensive, and I guess in terms of rugby league, I think the popularity of that does stem from a lot of leagues clubs supporting junior league and I guess reducing financial barriers for families to participate in that. And we're proud to do our little part in our corner of the state for that as well.
You've spent about 30 years in the club industry so far. You've been around through the mandatory pre-commitment discussion, the more recent headwinds around mandatory cashless gaming and other issues that crop up around tax. What do you see as some of the potential headwinds that are facing the industry in the years ahead?
Obviously compliance, and having gaming machines is a privilege. We've got to act responsibly around that, and I think around AUSTRAC requirements, but also around responsible gambling requirements as well, is that we will happily do whatever it takes to ensure that people enjoy a recreation or a pastime in terms of playing game machines. I've got family members that enjoy a flutter, and they enjoy it for a long time because they stick to a budget and they realise that it's a form of entertainment, and if they go in and put $20 in, that they're likely not going to see it again. But if they happen to have that, a good run and get a little win out of it, that's all part of the process and why they play it. So I think it's really important. We don't want anyone to ruin lives. They're an enjoyable, I guess, a hobby or a form of entertainment for a lot of people. So I guess as an industry, we're working towards those game machines being able to be used and played by people on a regular basis without causing harm. And they're the sort of headwinds I sort of see. Everything else is going well. The value that clubs provide each local community that they're located in is a social interaction and the connection for everybody across that community. So we have a function centre. It's no different to every other hall or auditorium or function centre in a small, medium or large club, but the amount of, I guess, community-driven events that we host throughout the year, without that space, I really wonder where all these groups would meet and congregate and have their gatherings.
You have very strong relationships with your local parliamentarians, be they state or federal members, whether it's Dan Rapaccioli or Clayton Barr, regularly around the club. How important is it for clubs around the state to make sure that their local elected representatives are aware of the contribution they make, both within venue but also outside the four walls of the club?
I think we're guilty of this as well. We don't do a great job at blowing our own trumpet. We'll put some reports in our annual report around our community support and things like that, but having regular meetings and catch-ups with our parliamentarians, if we expect them to, I guess, stand behind us or back us if we're faced with sort of challenging legislation or challenging sort of changes within our markets, then they've got to understand our business better. So people still don't understand the difference between a pub and a club. On the shopfront side, we all look the same, but it's fundamentally different. And that's the best part about the club industry and about working in clubs is no one person benefits. And when a club goes well, I guess the wider community benefits, sometimes directly through financial contributions to their charity or sporting group. Other times it might be through improved facilities and employment and other things like that.
Newcastle and Hunter region has some impressive club stalwarts who've been in the role for a long period of time.
Yeah.
Are there any that you look at from afar and admire the work they do, or anyone that you might go to for advice from time to time?
Yeah, I think when I started, I had club managers like Jared McMillan and quite a few others. Jared was at Singleton for the better part of 40 years, I think. So reach out and offer advice. And there's been a lot of managers over the years. You'd sort of take different bits and pieces. But I work a lot with Scott Williams at Belmont 16. So it's you might not know it, but he's a bit of a mentor of mine, or a bit of a copycat. He runs a great business there. It's a great location, but he's a very, very good operator. He really knows his stuff, and he's great to work with. I'm on a committee or two with Scott. There's a huge amount of good people in our industry, and I just pick the best parts out of all that. And I know I can always improve. I turned 50 this year, so I'm looking to be better again next year and the year after that. Yeah, always looking for better ideas to make life a bit easier.
We're going to talk about your family in a second, but I wanted to ask you, is there any chance you've been in the Hunter Valley your entire life? Could you ever be lured away to go and work for a Sydney club or a club somewhere else in New South Wales?
Oh, I think potentially, yeah. I've got just a couple of things to tidy off at Cessnock, and I think when I started at Cessnock, I thought 5 to 10 years would be my mark, but it's gone like that, and it's been really enjoyable, really rewarding. I'd love to be able to take on something in a different area. I've sort of been anchored with family and other commitments over the years, and I've been really happy in the work environment that I'm at the moment. Cessnock's a great town. The board and the team we have at Cessnock Leagues Club is terrific to work with, so time's gone pretty quick. But yeah, I think for opportunities beyond that, I think I'll have at least a crack at another venue, and if I've got the skills and the experience to be able to help them out, I'd definitely look at it.
And the timing would be just about right because the kids are growing up. Tell us about the family.
Yeah, I've got a 21-year-old Fletcher. My son Cooper is 19, and then my daughter Ellie is 18 next month. So we've got her 18th. So she's just finished HSC. She's starting university. My eldest son, Fletcher, he's a qualified builder now, and Cooper, he's still working out what he wants to do. So he's doing a bit of hospitality work at the moment, working in some bars and things like that. So a growing family. My partner, Jackie, we've been together probably coming up to 7 years now, so she's been great. Yeah, everything's going all well there. And we live in Maitland. It's a really good quality of life there, and got a lot of friends and family around, so it's great.
So it sounds like you're going to have a bit more time on your hands now that the kids are all sort of flying the nest. Where do we find you away from work? What do you like to do to relax?
At the moment, I play a bit of golf and touch football as well. I've always been a sporty guy, so not the best athlete, most talented, but, like I said earlier, I played bowls for a lot of years, and now golf and touch football is sort of my passion, and I enjoy a bit of fitness stuff as well, so just to try and keep Father Time at bay. But outside of that, I guess I enjoy spending a lot of time at home, just doing work on the lawn and my gardens and things like that. So, and of course with Jackie and the kids and family as well. Yeah, I'm in a really good spot at the moment.
I hope you're stretching those hamstrings playing competitive touch football, approaching 50.
Oh, yeah, and the calves. So there's always old man injuries playing at my age.
All right, we're going to ask you a couple of questions to close, which we ask all of our guests, starting with your favourite movie.
Hangover.
Hangover Part 1, obviously.
Part 1, yeah. The second was all right, and then the third one just lost the plot. The thing I like about Hangover is I seem to watch it. Every time I watch it, there's a new line I find within the movie, mainly from Alan, that I forget or I've overlooked the other 20 times I've watched the movies. And it's got the Vegas theme to it. I do like Vegas in that sense.
It's a comedy classic. I can't let you go without talking about your rugby league club, because it's not the Newcastle Knights, even though you grew up in the Hunter and you've worked at 2 Hunter-based clubs. Who is it?
It's Parramatta Eels. My thinking there was, and it's a bit like there's going to be a whole wave of Penrith Panthers supporters in another 15 or 20 years, but when I was a kid, we used to go to, Mum and Dad would take us to a friend's barbecue, and there'd be the grand final day, and I didn't really watch rugby league, and then I just noticed this blue and gold team were there year after year, so I started going for them. So I thought this is all right. We won a few comps in the early 80s and mid-80s, and haven't been sighted off Nobby since.
So it's just been the past 40 years.
It's been a poor investment, but I do enjoy it. So yeah, it's good to it's also good to stick to something. Knights are my second team because of the geographical connection. I've got some friends that have been associated with the Knights over the years as well. But yeah, there's nothing better than sticking with a team through thick and thin.
And what about other sports? I know you're a fan of the NFL.
Yeah, New York Giants. So I've got on the NFL just through, I guess, just American sports being a little bit more easily accessible. And I do quite enjoy that. It's sort of my summer rugby league, if I could call it that. I try not to get into too many sports. I want to be out and about, and there's so much to watch these days. But yeah, definitely NRL. And I mean, cricket tragic. I do watch, even though there's so much these days, I do love me test match cricket and cricket in general.
All right, and just one final question, Paul, before we let you go. Why do you think registered clubs will still be around in 100 years' time?
100 years is a long time. I think the industry's built on people, and it's also built on social connection. And I think as much as COVID's maybe been and gone, but one thing it did highlight that people do need that social connection. I think even with government, and 9 out of 10 people out there in the community understand how important, I guess, all social venues or hospitality venues are to their social interactions and connections. And I think as you get older, a little bit more wiser, you do understand the importance of it. And also with that understanding, you I guess you get a lot more respect out of the importance of your role and making sure that your club's doing their bit, not just in the local area, but doing their bit for the next generation to make sure that clubs are around in 100 years.
Paul, certainly doing your bit up at Cessnock. Good luck with the redevelopment. Can't wait to see the new club, and thanks very much for your time.
Thanks, Darren. I really appreciate it.
Paul Cousins there, the CEO of the Cessnock Hospitality Group. And that's all we have time for on today's episode of the Club Life podcast. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast channel so you're alerted whenever a new episode drops. And if you have a suggestion on someone you think might make an interesting future guest, get in touch with the team by emailing clublife@clubsnsw.com.au. Thanks for listening, and bye for now.